Hi grade 11s. Today we are still going to continue with some of the trig, with the revising. I suppose you PK, Nomti and Blessing from the camp have already done some of these things. Those from Orange Farm, I suppose you too have been doing these problems. But however, let's just clear some of the examples. Here's a question that we may get, or maybe we can get a similar question in our exam. It says here, prove that this is equal to that. So what you've got to prove, maybe you've got to simplify this until we get to that. Or maybe you've got to simplify this, get an answer, simplify this, get an answer. So what I'm going to do, I'll take maybe the left-hand side here. So my left-hand side, which is 1 over tan squared x times cos squared x. I can simplify this because I can see here this is tan squared x. In our trig, we know that tan x is the same as sin x over cos x. So I can write this as 1 over a sin squared x divided by cos squared x. Now it is being multiplied by a cos squared x. Now we can see that the cos squared x can cancel that, and eventually I get an answer of 1 over sine squared x from the left hand side. Now let's look at what we can get from the right hand side. I write here right hand side, which is equal to 1 over 1 minus cos x times 1 plus cos x. So I'm trying to simplify this and see if I can get that. Now check. If I were to remove the brackets here, just like in grade 9, I can fold it up to 1 times 1 will give me 1. 1 times cos x plus cos x. And minus cos x times 1 is minus cos x. And minus cos x times a cos x is a plus cos squared x. Now, what do I get? These are like terms, they cancel off. I end up with 1 over a 1. I'm sorry, that is a minus there. Minus a cos squared x. Okay? Now, there's something that we know in trig. We know there's an identity that we know, which says sine squared an angle plus cos squared an angle is the same as 1. So I can replace this 1 with that. So the 1 over, this is sine squared x plus cos squared x, now minus cos squared x. What do I get now? This cos squared x cancels that cos squared x. So I'm left now with 1 minus a sine squared x, which is same as what we got from the left hand side. So to finish this off, we say therefore the left hand side is equal to the right hand side. Then you are done. You get your full marks. Let's look at another example that we might get. They may say, can you simplify this? Wait, now this is where we're going to use this thing, remember. Okay, now this angle is so small. Remember, when the angle is small, we add 360 here in front. So we say here, so this is sine of, now put 360 degrees, then plus theta minus 180 degrees, then times, there's nothing to do there, that's for now, is tan of 360 degrees minus theta, and then sine of 90 degrees minus theta. So this is divided. This, remember, this is same as saying I've got cos of a theta plus 180 degrees because it's squared. It's multiplying by another cos of a theta plus 180 degrees. Now what do we get? I get now, see, that's 360 minus 180 is 180. So this is now sine of a 180 degrees plus a theta times a tan of 360 degrees minus theta times the sine of 90 degrees minus a theta, which is divided by cos of a theta plus 180 degrees times a cos of theta plus 180 degrees. So this gives us what? Now, which quadrant is this? So we go back to this. It's in this quadrant where tan is positive. It means that sine is negative. So my answer is negative sine of theta, which is multiplied by tan of 360. So 360 minus an angle is here. Cos is positive, so tan is negative. My answer is negative a tan of theta, which is multiplied by now sine of 90 minus theta. So here on this one, 90 minus eta is in this quadrant, and sine is positive here. And remember, we're dealing with 90s and 2/7. Sine become cos and cos becomes sine. So the answer here would be a cos of theta. So here, cos of theta plus 180 is here. Sine is cos, tan is positive, but cos will be negative. So my answer would be a negative, a cos of theta, which is multiplying another negative cos of theta or that. So when I simplify this, what do I get? I get now, let's check there. Obviously, the negative will times a negative, giving us a positive, and negative will give us a positive. Eventually, we've got a sine of theta. So multiply. I'll change the tan because I know that tan of an angle is same as sine over cos. So same as sine theta over cos of theta. So it'll be under the line. So times a cos of theta, and then this is divided by cos theta times cos theta, because the negative give us a positive. So I'll have another cos theta at the bottom and another cos theta at the bottom. So we can now see that this cos goes once, that goes once. Alright? And what are we left with now? We are left with the sine theta times sine theta. What is sine theta? Sine theta, can you write it on this side here? So sine theta times sine theta is sine squared theta over, and cos theta times cos theta give us a cos squared theta, and our answer is, what is sine over cos is tan. So sine squared over cos squared will be tan squared theta. That's our answer. So let's look at another example. Another example could be like this one without numbers. So here we are not allowed to use a calculator. So what do we do? So this, we will write it as sine of, because 210 degrees is in this quadrant here. 210 degrees is over here. So I'll say sine of 180 degrees plus 30 degrees. That is same as that. So it's multiplied by, now this is 400. We've got an angle which is very big. So I must subtract 360 from it. So I say cos of 400 degrees, then subtract 360 degrees. If the angle is more than 360, that's what you do. So this one is sine 110 degrees, which is in this quadrant. I'll write it 180 minus something. So cos of 110 is 120, same as cos of 180 degrees subtract 60 degrees. So that is same as that. So multiplied by, now if the angle is negative, remember we just plug in 360 degrees in front. So this is sine of, now put 360 degrees minus a 50 degrees. So what do you get now? Which quadrant is this? So we are here. So the sine is negative in this because 10 is positive. So my answer is a negative sine of 30 degrees. So multiplied by, now if I subtract here, I will get, because this has nothing to do with these angles here. So this is same as a cos of 40 degrees. Now what about this one here? So in this quadrant here, so this will be, and cos is negative here. So the answer will be a negative cos of 60 degrees, which is multiplied by, and this quadrant over here is this quadrant where cos is positive, but this is sine. So meaning the sine is going to be a negative sine of 50 degrees. So what am I left with? So now I'm left with the negative times a positive, which is a negative. So on top there, I'll get a sine of 30 degrees, negative sine of 30 degrees times a cos of 40 degrees. But at the bottom, a negative times a negative will give us a positive answer. So at the bottom, I've got a cos of 60 degrees multiplied by a sine of 50 degrees. Now 30 degrees and 60 degrees are special angles, so I did not need you to use a calculator. You've got to remember how to find sine of 30 degrees, but of course you can try and use a calculator as long as you don't put decimals. Therefore, if I were to continue with this here, and then as long as I don't put decimals, I can try and use a calculator. Nobody will see that I'm using a calculator. Alright, but if I were to use a calculator to check what is sine of 30 degrees, so if I put a calculator, what is sine of 30 degrees, let's check. Aha, it's a half. and there's no decimal, so I put a half over there. So it's multiplied by the cos of 40 degrees. The 40 degrees is not a special angle, so just leave it as that. It's cos of 40 degrees, so it's divided by. Now here, what is cos of 60 degrees? So cos of 60 degrees, so I go cos of 60 degrees. What do I get? Cos of 60 degrees, again I get half, so I've got my half here, which is multiplying a sine of 50 degrees. Obviously, the half, negative half there will cancel with the half over here. So I eventually get an answer for a negative cos of 40 degrees, which is divided by a sine of 50 degrees. Now, if you see here, these are complementary angles. They add up to 90 degrees. So the cos of 40 will always be the same as sine of 50 degrees. So this is the same as saying I've got a sine of 50 degrees divided by a sine of 50 degrees. You can check in the calculator. Let's check it. What is sine of 50? We'll check the sine of 50 and the cos of 40 there. Check cos of 40. The answer that we get is 0.766. If it was sine of 50, let's check sine of 50. Sine of 50 degrees, what do we get there? Again, 0.766. They are the same. They'd always be like that. So we can just swap them and check it and say, okay, it's cos of 40 degrees, replace it with sine of 50. It was cos of 20, you replace it with sine of 70, because it must give 90 degrees when we add the angles. So the answer here is a negative. Now you can see that the sine of 50 cancels now, sine of 50 degrees, and the answer is 1 over 1, which is 1. So the answer is negative 1. So on your own, can you try some of the problems which are similar to this? These are how to get an exam. So it's just the extension of the same question 5 that they last did. So from www.brighterfuture.co.za, grade 8 11 papers, grade 11. So DPE 20, question 5, do 5.2 to 5.3, then 2015, question 5 again, 5.2 to 5.3, then Eastern Cape of 2015, question 5, you do 5.3 to 5.4. Good luck.